What if you could change your life? What if sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself, but those around you? Well, you can. It's called alchemy. And these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join quantum karmic healer Jennie McDaniel and intuitive empowerment coach Mandee Elam for a magical journey into esoteric spiritual discussions. Brought to you by Heart Over Ego Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Sisters. You are here with Mandee and Jennie, and it is a new season. Happy summer solstice, and we had a new moon, an eclipse, and all kinds of action, and even Mercury went retrograde, so there's a lot of energy going on. Jennie, how are you doing?
I'm enjoying the energy flows. I've been downloading business ideas one right after another, so I'm digging on the retrograde. I generally can't say that, but at this moment, I feel very blessed and abundant. So not my typical retrograde-y energy, although last week we had to cancel, 3 shows, Mandee, because the internet kept going down and crashing on us. So I guess I had a little frustration last week, but maybe that was pre-retrograde.
It was through Mercury.
Yeah.
So if you tuned into the Alchemy Sisters last week and had a hard time hearing us, we ended up pre-recording a show today with our guest from last week, Shannon Connell, and we will be distributing that soon for you to hear. So thanks so much for tuning in and sticking with us here on Heart Over Ego Radio. Well, since we are talking about astrological events, with no further ado, I would love to bring on our guests. Our guests tonight are Lydia and Rachel, the founders of AstroGnosis, which is a wonderful blend of past life regression, astrology, and hypnotherapy. And we are so excited to have you. So welcome. Rachel, how are you doing tonight?
Great. Thank you for having us on. I'm really happy to be here with you both.
We are so excited. Lydia, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Hopefully you guys are doing good too.
We are so great. Either individually or together, however you like to do it, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how they can follow along if they want to look you up while they're listening to the show?
Rachel,
you go.
So we have our Facebook page, AstroGnosis, and that's where you can reach us. Lydia is the founder of the group Astrology Rebels, so I'll let you talk a little bit about that as well. We do. We have a large group of about 30,000 members at this point, and that's kind of our main hub. Rachel is also an admin there, and beyond that, we have a bunch of subgroups as well that go along with that. All astrology, all education based, ultimately.
How beautiful. When did you begin this project and how did it grow? Tell us a little bit about, let's start maybe with your Astrology Rebels. Is that what you said it was called?
Yes, I founded the group in 2017. At that point, I had already been studying astrology for about 3 to 4 years heavily. I first found my natal chart back in 2011, and it's just kind of beautifully grown. We have a massive team at this point of 30 admins and moderators, and we're global as well. They're all over the world.
Well, thank you for shining your light and creating that. That's not an easy thing to do, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of how you came into doing that shortly. That's incredible, so thank you.
And that's how we met. So I joined Astrology Rebels as a participant and got really involved, and worked with Lydia as an astrologer. She did a few readings for me, and then I shared with her that I do hypnosis, and we, did a session together, and then that's where our relationship blossomed, and we decided to create this joint venture.
Definitely.
Oh, sweet.
She's incredible. So you work with her one time, and you'll want to do more.
Well, I could say the same thing about you, Lydia. Go ahead.
So I'm so sorry. So you guys don't both do astrology. One of you do more of the hypnotherapy type work and the other the astrology. Is that right?
Yeah.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I study it, but she's the astrologer, and I trust her to do it. And we just thought it was such a great way to get insight, because with hypnosis, you have access to your subconscious mind. You can connect to your higher self. You can connect to spirit. But to be able to utilize that alongside astrology, we just thought it would be another key for people to be able to get in touch with, these deeper parts of themselves and find a way to work through it.
So cool. Rachel, where did you learn hypnotherapy?
So about 2015, I got certified from an instructor with the National Guild of Hypnotists. So that's a certification. And then throughout the years, I've done ongoing training. And then I got past life regression certified through the Edgar Cayce area in Virginia Beach, just to, add to that experience.
So cool. Have you ever taken somebody into regression and had them explain like other planets, kind of like Dolores Cannon?
Yeah, we've had those experiences. I mean, there's so much you could do with hypnosis. I've worked with people that have lost children through death, and they've been able to communicate with them, or besides children. But I mean, that is something I worked on for a few years with a couple of people. And so it was other planets, other dimensions, other being able to communicate with spirit, with thought. I mean, there's really you can do so much with hypnosis, and I've been lucky to be a witness to a lot of that.
I bet if you regressed Lydia, you would see that she has thousands of parallel lives being an astrologist. I bet that's what you would see, because that's what I'm seeing.
No, I mean, it was crazy when I began studying astrology. It was like I was learning something that I had already learned before, like a second language. Very, very familiar. So, yes, I'm sure.
That's so cool. That's what I do for a living. I read parallel lives. I read past lives. I do channeling. I do all kinds of stuff. But these parallel lives I find to be so helpful in doing understanding if people are lost and they're not real sure what they should do in their career. I have a lot of 20-something-year-olds, not real sure, world's changing, not real sure. I'm like, I can tell you what you've done in parallel lives, and you can take that or not. It's more like remembering as opposed to learning. So often they'll pick whatever they pick, but I'll tell them some things that they've done in parallel lives that they would pick up more quickly. And I definitely see Lydia doing astrology thousands of times, one of which is in like this ancient Egyptian space, and there's knowledge of alien tools. And so she's reading the stars and also being connected with groups that are actually communicating with the aliens. So that's pretty powerful. Needed to tell you that real quick.
I love that, because I feel so connected to ancient Egypt, actually. I'm very big into, we're about to approach it, the dog days of summer, Sirius. It's very, very Egyptian. So that's super cool to hear.
Cool. Just wanted to interject that a little bit. Mandee, I'm going to hand it back over to you, and you can ask some questions. I don't want to hog them all up.
Girl, it's just all divine, and it's so funny because when I was making a graphic for this show, I was between the one I chose now and one with pyramids. I'm very connected to this ancient Egyptian energy for this show, and I don't know why, and I ended up picking the other one because I liked it too, but very in sync, and I think wonderful. And Jennie, you work closely with Edgar Cayce, so I thought that was a really beautiful connection.
I've channeled him a couple of times. I just had a client graduate from the massage school over there. I think it's called ARE, Cayce Massage, something. Yes, and I've channeled Edgar Cayce a couple times. I learned a lot of what I know. I've been practicing pretty heavily since I've been about 25. I'm 42 now. My teacher's a trance channel. So I always wanted to be a trance channel, but I'm a busybody and I got fire everywhere. So I'm a conscious channel and I can do similar things. But one person I like to bring through is Edgar Cayce, because he was one of the masters in my opinion. But I bring through other kind of famous people. And I asked my teacher one time, who's a psychotherapist and a trance channel, brings through entities that they call themselves O'Brien. I was like, so it's surely my ego that I'm channeling famous people, right? And he goes, no, you know them from parallel lives, and they're your revolutionary buddies. Let me guess. Rock stars from the 60s and radical leaders from the 60s. I'm like, And he goes, yeah, they're your friends. I'm like, Janis Joplin. All right, Malcolm X, let's go, kids. You know, so it's just pretty fun, but it's all a fun world, isn't it? We work in a very intriguing space, and all of us sitting on this line right now couldn't have been as happy as we are now had we chose a desk job or a regular job. Nothing wrong with those jobs, for God's sake. But people like us need that depth, need that place to swim forever, which is the things we do: astrology, hypnotherapy, psychic work, empowerment, coaching. I mean, we'll never get over these. These things will always have to be done, and that's what keeps that old soul head of ours busy. So thanks, ladies, for doing the work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, and that's really fascinating. I'm going to have to check out those channelings with Edgar Casey.
Yes, you can. I'm doing donation. I'm taking donations. Some people give $20, some people give $50. I'm channeling all week, for the rest of the week for donation, and then all of next month. So you can talk to Edgar Casey if you want for a low price of $29.99. I'm just kidding, but seriously.
That's awesome. That's great.
So
I
cool.
actually feel a really strong connection to Edgar Casey myself because he was a Pisces with a Pisces North Node, like I am. And Rachel has really assisted me. When I go under hypnosis, like I can pull out information beyond past life related stuff that's very, very relevant, like years and stuff like that. Obviously he's incredibly skilled, but I'm not there yet. But I can definitely, there's been a lot of unreal stuff that I've been able to kind of pick up while under hypnosis. And he's just awesome.
Let's get him on the line since he's here. He can't stay away from four beautiful ladies calling his name. He's here and he's teasing, and he's like, Jennie's a character, and he's like, yes, if she would like to summon, or any of you would like to summon me, a thought is a frequency in which I can be summoned. So when you think of me, I'm present energetically. We can be so many places, all the places at once. In fact, he says, if we want to, with the possibilities that we have in the non-physical, so heaven, whatever you want to call it. He's saying, I indeed have parallel lives with all of you. There's no way, shape, or form people that are as interested in what we do aren't going to rub elbows, and not only this dimension, but other dimensions and planets. So he's claiming all of us, and that's kind of what they do. And I channel for people in a session. I'm like, so you got a friend that kind of has some caliber in the non-physical, and they want to talk to you. Grandma's great. We'll channel Grandma, but you got like, Malcolm X coming through, or Edgar Casey coming through. So he's just saying that he absolutely is appreciating what we're doing on the planet. He's saying, I'm not in that time frame continuum. I'm in the non-physical, but laying down the tracks beforehand for you guys was a pleasure, and just know that I peppered myself in and out of all that space too. So I have woven this revolution together for the great collapse, the great fall, the bringing down of the patriarchy. He's like, don't you think for a second I'm not all up in it with you all energetically. I'm just not walking the walk. Have before, holding space for you all, and by you all, I mean you all. And I, front row and center, watching the game, watching what you guys are doing. Looks like you got the lead. Looks like you are up heading and gaining ground on ego energy, as Jennie likes to call it. And it's still anyone's game, and there's a lot of work to be done. But with girls like you on the planet hitting it hard like that, it's not going to take long. And I'm like, all right, Edgar, thanks for that. And are you anything else, Edgar Casey? He goes, yet he's like talking about being a trance channel. He's like, that was the way that I could do it because I had to get away from my conscious mind. I was a Christian photographer, but he goes, I like how you guys do it. You guys bring it to your everyday life and walk down the street spewing that energy of astrology and hypnotherapy and mysticism. He goes, I didn't live like that. Nothing wrong with not living like that, but I appreciate how you all do. So he's just saying all these lovely things and heading out into the mystic, I guess we'll call it, and saying goodbye. But what a lucky group, huh? We get to have Edgar Casey come in and say hi and claim us as his buddies and I guess peers, I guess is what you call that.
Well, that's beautiful. I could feel that energy in my heart. So that was really nice. Thank you for doing that.
I'm glad you felt that, and that's what matters to me is the feelings. I'm a visceral person, the energy, how does it feel to you? So thanks for the compliment. I'm going to hand it back over to Mandee.
Oh, I just thought that was beautiful. And for our listeners, actually, I always like to ground things in. One of my favorite things I learned from Edward Casey and our friend Holly Joy McCabe, the spiritual fit chick, is to use castor oil. And I would use castor oil wraps and make like these patches with like pieces of flannel and then put castor oil in it to treat, like, I had really bad gout and arthritis and joint issues, and I had a lot of like I had a broken ankle at one point and a bunch of torn ligaments, and I would use these patches and it would heal so quickly. And it's just this really cool, awesome thing that's been around for a long time. And while not a lot of people want to get out there and, maybe take a trip to urgent care or something, a castor oil patch from Edgar Casey might do the trick. So thanks so much.
Between that and iodine, I think he healed a lot of stuff back then.
Right? So thanks for bringing that in, Jennie. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I want to get back to our beautiful guests tonight.
Yes.
I would love to hear a little bit about your individual journeys and kind of what got you to where you are today. Do either one of you want to start? Does that sound enticing?
You go, Lydia.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna really make me do this.
You're on the spot.
Let me take you on a voyage.
As much or as little as you'd like to share, but there's always a journey behind the healer.
Oh my gosh, there's such a journey behind this. Back in 2016, I actually had a massive awakening, ultimately, where I ultimately saw into the future of time, and it's all been playing out before me. I saw myself create my group. I saw myself work with Rachel. I saw a lot of different things that I've kind of just been watching them actualize one by one. But I know that what I saw was very fated. So it's tough to kind of explain how all that played out, but I ultimately just followed it. I was like, all right, if this is what I'm supposed to do, then I'm going to do it. And I followed it step by step, and it kind of just fell into place. I met her through my group, and each time this happened, it was kind of even more mind-blowing because I was watching it play out before my eyes, like, whoa, this is real. And yeah, that's about it. Just like my clairvoyance kind of awakened and just showed me a lot of things, and I'm still kind of waiting for them to play out.
How old were you when you first experienced your clairvoyant gift?
Oh, geez. I think it was something that I was definitely in touch with when I was a child, but over time it kind of, I went back to sleep is a good way of putting it.
Oh, yeah, you and everyone else, sister. That's like the story of the healer, right? We come in with amazing gifts and ancient rememberings, and then traumas and dramas come along and dim us up and shadow us, and then we learn how to fix and heal them and teach others. So that makes total sense, because when we're in those spaces and we're not in alignment, we don't access our natural psychic abilities as easily as we did when we, were a little less traumatized, shall we say, and, impressed by the world.
Definitely.
Beautiful. What about you, Rachel?
So I've been on the spiritual journey. Okay, so I was probably about 12 when I would see Montel Williams and Sylvia Brown would come on. And those books really opened me up to this other way, because I always, as a child, knew like something was missing. Like I go to church and I'm like, I'm not feeling the way I'm supposed to feel, and I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, but I know I'm not feeling the way I'm supposed to feel. I remember feeling that way. And then, Sylvia Brown opened it up, and then it was like the Neil Donald Walsh books, and then it was, Wayne Dyer, and then it was, The Course in Miracles, Disappearance, so it all led me, and then it was, wanting to look into past lives, and then so there's like Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, Michael Newton, the Life in Between Lives, and it was when I found those books, I was like, oh, I need to learn how to do this. I need to do hypnosis. Like it's so interesting. I mean, I'm a triple Scorpio, right? So Sun, Moon, Rising are all Scorpio. So life, death, what happens, a little bit of intensity, but so it's like life and death and just my personal experiences with people leaving and wanting to be able to connect with them, and feeling that connection. That's the interest. And so when I, back in 2015, I got certified for hypnosis, and I lived in Nashville at the time, and I started working with a medium there, and you know, it was like we create little workshops, and it's just more comfortable for me to do more of the spiritual hypnosis than it is to do regular hypnosis, where, you know, it's like smoking alleviation, you know, things like that,
right.
or weight loss. I'm more comfortable doing like the past life regressions or the connecting with your soul or connecting with loved ones. But, you know, long story short, that's and then, you know, astrology and all that has always been an interest. Everything, I mean, this has been a lifelong interest, or at least, you know, since adolescence. And it just kind of, you know, whatever I've used for myself to help heal myself or to understand or to find meaning and purpose, then I use that as my understanding to work with people. And because it's, you know, there's been different areas, whether it's spiritual traditions or, you know, different metaphysical belief systems, like that's the foundation that I've been able to use to work with people.
Rachel, I took hypnotherapy courses outside of Nashville. Was your teacher by chance named Mark?
No. No. Why am I forgetting his name? No. Geez. Okay, I'll remember his name.
It'll come back.
Yeah,
yes,
and I mean, yeah, I love him too, and I feel really bad, but yeah, no, it's not Mark.
It'll come
back. Rachel, what year were you born?
1981.
We got an 81 baby, Mandee. I always like to ask people when they're born, because when I look at parallel lives, that's part of my job, but often I like to look at the strategy of the higher self when they came in. It's usually quite different than the ego of the human thinks it should have been or is or what have you. But the strategy and some of my spiritual understandings that I got through channeling is you pick the womb you come out of, and you pick the time frame continuum in the day, you know, kind of like lining up with astrology. I'm sure it's a little off every once in a while of what you were intending, but quite clearly you can often choose when you were born. And so I always like to see what year people were born, because when I look at through the 70s and 80s, I see a shit ton of us light workers coming through. And it would make sense, because my spirit guide said, well, when the shit hits the fan, you'd rather be 40 than 20, right? And I'm like, yeah. And that was my strategy, and all of yours. Clearly, we're all born in the 70s and 80s probably. But there's other strategies of why we pick that too. That's not the only determining factor, but we have our individual karmas as well as our collective karmas and jobs that we want to get done, which is to band together to come in and to push out ego energy and replace it with heart. And how do you do that? Well, you do that with learning and growing and generational healing and strategizing from the non-physical. You can see that we got those Zoomers backing us up, taking down the patriarchy through electronics and stuff. We wanted kids like that coming and backing us up as we plowed through these unsustainable, I guess, institutions, and we plow them down and we rebuild. We're going to need kids that are going to hold it in place. And that looks like kids who are anti-establishment, because the future and a more heartful existence, and hopefully this is where we're going, is we create a community that has a lot more yin and a lot more femininity and a lot more heart energy and sustainability and green energy and heartfulness. So we're on our way. And again, part of the strategy is we all wanted to be front row and center as adults, toeing that line, and also stepping forward into that teacher role. Lydia and Rachel have that teacher archetype. So if you guys aren't already doing it, you may as well let it roll around your head and see if you'd like to play around with it, because you already got the skills. You'll keep learning a whole lifetime, but you already got the skills to pass down what you already know. So I like your guys' energy.
Oh, thank you so much. And his name's Marvin Wilkerson. That was my teacher.
Nashville area people, you want hypnotherapy, go see her teacher.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's very spiritually oriented and very supportive. And he's also an astrologer, actually.
Cool. Some people pick up all the skills, don't they? Like do a little, this old soul, like I want this. And we keep learning and growing. It's so fun. Mandee, should we cut to a commercial and then come back and ask more questions?
We'll take a break and be right back.
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, tune in and tune up. Body awareness and self-care, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, One for All is Love, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Greenwich Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Heart Over Ego Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Alchemy Sisters. You are here with Mandee and Jennie on Heart Over Ego Radio, and we have the lovely co-founders of AstroGnosis, Lydia and Rachel, with us tonight. Ladies, I am so grateful you're here, and I have a couple more follow-up questions about your business. I'm wondering, what kind of distance sessions are you offering right now during this whole COVID thing, and what can our listeners benefit from with your services while they're at home?
Rachel, do you want me to answer that?
Yes, I will. Yes, go ahead.
Well, we aren't really booking any sort of sessions until July or late July. But we are doing our wide array of offerings. We have past life regression. We have a mediumship package. And I know we also have a star seed package as well, right? Is there anything else that I'm missing?
I mean, there was also the going through the birth chart, and then
the houses.
Yeah,
that one was really cool.
And so, but we're doing our events that we do for every new moon and full moon. Those are pre-recorded. So I record them, and then Lydia adds some sound frequency, some binaural beats to it, and then we have a group that people that that decide to participate, they become part of that group, and then we like to go under at the same time, and then everybody shares their experience. So you don't have to do it at the same time because it's a recording, but it just adds more energy, a collective energy when people do it together. And it's really cool because there's a lot of synchronicities and similar stories and similar experiences.
Totally.
We ultimately take people into these events into a WhatsApp chat. In our last one, we had like 35 participants or something. It was a big group. But ultimately, like, the sound frequency in general puts people kind of on the same radio wave, on the same frequency. And so we're all there together kind of in astral going under. It's a really, really cool experience.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, so we base it on what's the theme. So if it's the new moon, like this one was the new moon in Cancer and the solar eclipse, so Lydia and I will, discuss kind of what the theme is and tap into that energy of what it is. And then I just, I have to get myself into a higher state in order to create it, because I don't really know I know some of it. I have an idea of what we want to do, but I don't really know what we're going to do until I'm tuning in, and then I base it based on what I feel and what I see, and that's the recording. And then that's how we, and so I think that because it's tuning in, I think it feels like it's a nice alignment with the energy of that we're working with for, each new moon and full moon.
Absolutely. You're just downloading and intuiting it. And we do that often on this show and in our healings. And I always feel like that's always of the highest good. And it's wonderful. Is a past life regression distance, or do you have to be in person for that?
So Lydia and I are in different states. So we don't even live in the same state. So we do our sessions through Zoom. When we do the past life regressions or any hypnosis, Lydia will be on the call and she'll take notes. And then, I put the person under. And then afterwards, that's when she would review their chart and see how that would correlate. Like, they would do a past life. How does that show up in the chart, or any themes or anything? I don't know if you want to speak more to that, Lydia.
Yeah, because I'm a karmic astrologer. So I focus really heavily on the nodal axis, which shows me the potential for past lives. So while she's taking somebody under, they're kind of in a different frame of mind in a way. I'm also a medium, by the way. I channel kind of what I'm receiving clairaudently, write down notes, but also I have kind of their chart next to me as well, and I can see where some of the things they're seeing potentially are coming from within their natal chart.
Lydia has something very interesting that happened recently. I'm sure she has lots of interesting things, but do you remember the woman who went crazy in New York City and threatened to call the cops on that black man just watching birds? Well, that woman got turned in, so to speak, or the name got released by one of Lydia's awesome New York friends, came to the beautiful stage that is called the internet and blasted information that I think is pertinent, because I feel that shame isn't a good way to help people learn. But when you video people and they still don't see a problem with what they've done and they're going to continue doing that, I feel like maybe a little pressure is good. So, Lydia, what is your friend's name in New York? She's a hip chick.
Yeah, she's awesome. Her name's Lindsay. She's actually a tarot reader as well. I've been sending people for her.
Cool. Yeah, she had awesome energy. She is a dog walker as well. I think is the dog walking community. We're like, we know that woman. So she got out by the dog walking community of New York City. So 1 point for the dog walkers, 0 for fascist white bratty bitches.
That situation. I just kept telling her, like, I'm proud of you for doing this.
This is us coming together, just like. I read a meme that says, God, it was written supposedly by millennials, and I think maybe even one of you gals posted it, but it was like, we were a little worried about you, Gen Z, because you started eating the Tide Pods, but you guys have come out of the woodwork and are coming after your pastors for being racist and cutting your parents down to size if they start being racist and stuff. So I thought that was awesome.
I focus on children's astrology. I'm very much so generational.
Cool.
And these kids, this new generation of children, like, they're coming in here to do some awesome things in the world. Definitely.
I'm glad they're there. I love their energy, and I'm glad they're backing us up. I'm glad we have them on our team and that they're doing the good work with us. So it's a relief and a pleasure. I'll hand it back over to you, Mandee.
Oh, yeah, no, it really is. And we've been seeing that a lot. All these little babies are coming in with brilliant ways to heal the world. And I feel like the people who are here currently, we're meant to clean up our karmas and lighten it up a little collectively so that they can have the freedoms to actually access these wonderful tools that they're bringing in for us. As we were talking earlier in the show, a lot of times you're born with these amazing gifts, and then certain things happen and you start to dim them and shadows come in, and you don't always know that you have these other senses and abilities. And so hopefully with this newer generation, all of us healing artists can help pave a little bit of a path. And I just think it's so brilliant what the two of you are doing. And I was just having all these beautiful kind of flashbacks and scenes of the two of you working together in scientific ways before in other past lives. I'm sure you've taken a look at it, but it's incredible. And I think it can really serve people. I know for me, when I found out about a lot of my past lives and when I found out in my chart that a lot of my things were actually there karmically, like I was supposed to go through it gave me a lot of peace. And it also gave me a lot of hope and inspiration to keep going. So I love what you guys are up to.
I've realized from my own personal experience, in order to have compassion, in order to have an open heart, you have to be willing to deal with your own pain and be able to work through that. And being able to be with somebody at some of their darkest times, it requires you to have that courage to do that within yourself, And so I think that's part of this work is, not only just the wanting to bring the awareness and to that spiritual, knowledge, but also to embrace the harder parts of ourselves, of our journey, if that makes any sense. Just like really being individuated, and that embracing that wholeness of who we are.
Your humanness.
Yeah, your humanness. Yes.
I love that. Some of my sayings are the healer heals themselves or starts to and gets on the path of healing themselves before they heal others, and it's often the way of the healer. And isn't there the wounded healer? Is that Chiron? I don't know much about that. Lydia, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, Chiron is actually very prominent in both me and Rachel's charts. I have Chiron square my sun. She has a bunch of oppositions. So Chiron is it's a major facet in what we focus on and what we do, definitely. It's assisting in healing and assisting in taking our paths and our journeys spiritually and beyond and helping others.
Yeah, and Chiron in the chart, it would be that. How would you explain that, Lydia? Is in somebody's chart, Chiron in somebody's chart would represent what?
Chiron within somebody's natal chart is a handicap. It is a place or a point of sensitivity. The cool thing about Chiron, and I always point this out to people, is the fact that we all have one. And I feel like that brings a little bit of unity to that woundedness. But wherever you have Chiron, you ultimately bear this wound, yet at the same time you are able to go on and heal others with kind of your own experiences of pain.
Good description. I like that description. Thank you for that.
Well, what is that Rumi quote? The wound is where the light enters, I believe. It's something like that. And so we have that, and that's it's kind of like you have to break open. You have to be willing to have your heart broken and be wide open in order to have, that's at least my understanding or my experience.
Something that I've been repeating to people lately is the fact that most people do not have compassion for others unless they have experienced something similar. And so I feel like Chiron in general makes you compassionate. It allows you to see that pain in other people and care, ultimately.
I love that. I think that you're right. I know you're right that often people can't muster up compassion unless it's something that they've experienced, when indeed humility will teach us to open up, even if we don't have experience, and at least feel heart energy toward that person. Of course, you might not know exactly what they're going through, but empathy. And I was just going to talk about how I usually work with empaths, and they open up their heart chakra too much quite often, and they get overwhelmed with everyone's energy, and they have to learn how to discern between their energy and other people's energy and keep that shield up and keep their heart big, vulnerable, and open, but get the tools so that they don't have to go to war every day when they leave the house. So it's a big lesson, big movement, takes years and years and years sometimes, depending on your karma with it or your lessons with it, of really being open-hearted and letting it all out and having it set, on your sleeve, so to speak, but then also having, because we're human and this is an ego-dominant planet for right now, having a sword, so having that ego in your back pocket so it can come out and defend you in your heart. And I've known, and I often tell people on these podcasts and my clients, I'm like, it's a head trip. We come to an ego-dominant planet to bring more heart energy, and a lot of us old soul females especially are in that, coming to the planet to bring more heart energy and to neutralize ego into heart energy, but inside of that to have more ego, which is just a mind fuckery, because you think you're coming in here to do all kinds of heart energy, and you are, but you're also here to say, I am, and that is ego. I am a healer. I am a mother, fill in the blank, so it takes a little bit of ego to keep ourselves going in these ego-dominant planets. And again, we have to step up and defend ourselves verbally or make a claim or a statement. That takes ego, but that's what that tool is, the tool of ego, as opposed to walking around saying, I'm the best there ever was. That's bad ego. But good ego can be, well, I'm going to say something because I feel heartful about this and I think it'll bring knowledge to the table, and I'm not going to let fear hold me back. Mandee and I often talk about witch wounds on this show, and I do a lot of parallel and past life healing and shamanic journeying, and you're hard-pressed to find an old soul female that hasn't been persecuted and maybe not even burnt at the stake because of her voices. So I love opening up the chakras and letting all of them out, but definitely the heart, but then also giving someone the tool of that little bit of ego to differentiate and cut through a bunch of shit that this planet's going to throw at us. It's for a lot of old souls. We were the ones that could do this work, so that's why we strategized and came in. But like the Chiron represents, we all have a handicap, and we might as well go ahead and start working on that compassion so the universe doesn't put us to our knees, all the time.
Yes. And that's the great thing about a chart, though, because it's like it shows you the archetypal energies that you're working with for this lifetime. And, even the sun representing the ego and what house, Lydia's really great about helping somebody to how to best use that placement, in their lives, and what kind of type of journey you may, or type of, archetypal journey you're going to have to go through based on these different placements.
I think
so
awareness and understanding are so huge when it comes to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
In knowing who you are and understanding who you are, you can go so far, and that's what I really aim to do with an astrologer, is help people kind of wake up to themselves in a way.
Ladies, what do you think about your first podcast so far? I'll go with Rachel. Rachel, what do you think?
This is great. You both, you create a really comforting and supportive atmosphere. So I'm really grateful that this is our first experience.
It is like chatting with friends on the phone, because that's basically what we're doing, huh?
Yeah.
Lydia, what do you think so far?
I really enjoy it a lot. I was raised in a talk radio household, and I told my dad today, hey, Dad, I'm going to do it today. So
it's a big moment. I'm going to be a star. Woohoo!
It's a new moon and a new season. Look at you go.
Well, and it's funny because we wanted to plan our business chart. That's the great name of astrology too. You pick the optimal times, and so Lydia was like, okay, let's do our business chart on this time, and we're going to have a 0-degree Cancer ascendant, which it lined up for the new moon. So it was just really nice, because it's been about a little over a year that we started, working together as a business.
So cool.
Yeah, we came together for this perfectly.
And it does appear you guys have been cohorts and worked together in parallel lives too. They're just showing me a quick glimpse, and I'll take 1 second to tell you about it. They're laughing and they're saying, which one do we show them? Because there's so many cool ones. They're saying, tell them this one. And I'm like, okay, so you guys are druids. They're showing England, Stonehenge, stars, lining things up, solstices, equinox. So it looks like a combination of druid, paganism, England, internal searching and wisdom, esoteric seeking. So that's one of them. So not too shabby to kind of meet up at Stonehenge. It's kind of like that strategy when you kind of choose when you want to come in. You guys were like, what's next? You wanna take a vacation, karma life together? Where should we go? Where you pick this time? Okay, England. Okay, at least let's get close to Stonehenge. Okay, cool. They're laughing. Your spirit guides are laughing because they know each other very well, because you guys work together, and then they're saying this isn't the first time, your first rodeo, that being one of them, with that Stonehenge awesomeness with the robe, and you guys are walking around and touching the Stonehenge. Not too shabby. That's fun. Does not surprise me. You guys ran across each other again this lifetime to play ball again and to bring knowledge to the people again. It's music to my ears, and I appreciate you both. And I'd like to tell you that Heart Over Ego Radio is expanding, and we have about 3 shows launching in the next couple of weeks, and we're just going to keep growing because of this need for remote healing. We don't have an astrology show on Heart Over Ego. We do have an astrology show on our sister network, Third Eye Political Radio. Sybil Starr does a show with me over there, and she takes astrology and lays it right on politics, and she's a 70-year-old old hippie from Northern California. She is awesome. But we don't have an astrology show on Heart Over Ego. So let it roll around your head and play around with the idea of having a show, bringing knowledge in this format. It's just something to think about for you ladies. We invite all the best.
That's
it's
amazing.
The perfect time for it with the North Node in Gemini right now. Communication is boosted. You guys should have a lot of luck.
Good. I've been led by spirit in all of this, so they've never steered me wrong, and all the times I actually started listening to them. So it is in good alignment, and we appreciate you and would love to have you back anytime. We are getting closer to the end of the show, and I just definitely wanted both of you, we'll start with Rachel and go to Lydia, I want both of you to give us your contact information one more time, and how people can get a hold of you best.
So I think it's best to just go to our Facebook page, AstroGnosis, Astro, A-S-T-R-O, Gnosis, G-N-O-S-I-S, and just message us through there. We'll be revamping a website later on, but not during Mercury retrograde. So we'll be able to provide that on the show, on the Facebook page later on.
Wonderful. And how about you, Lydia? Same stuff, or do you want to give out some more information?
Yeah, they can just use AstroGnosis. I'm really trying to focus largely on doing things in partnership rather than just my business stuff. But I also give readings through Lydia Astro Pieces, which is also on Facebook.
Good to know. Mandee, any questions you want to ask the ladies? And I'm going to hand it back to you, ladies, in a few minutes. So if there's anything you want to add toward the end, something on your mind, anything that comes to your mind. But Mandee, do you have any questions or anything you want to state?
I do. I want to know if there's anything coming through to share with our listeners and just the collective in general that the two of you have been receiving from Spirit and through your readings that could maybe support us. Obviously, we just had a big astrological change this past weekend. So I just wanted to know, what's coming through that could be of support to us and our listeners.
Go ahead, Lydia.
I would say that within the next 2 years, it is so important to be able to remain mutable and to be able to remain open and to embrace a dual aspect of your personality, both light and dark, but also to focus on educating yourself and to try not to let old beliefs potentially step in the way. I'm speaking on terms of the North Node being in Gemini right now, but that's about it.
Yeah, can you tell us just a little more in detail, like what that means, like North Node and Gemini? Like what kind of energy is that setting up for us?
So Gemini is a Mercury-ruled sign, focusing on communication and education as a whole. And what this means with the North Node being in Gemini is that as a collective, we are moving towards this arena. What that also means is we're moving away from the zodiac sign Sagittarius, which is religion, it's theology, it's belief. It's very dogmatic in a sense. We're really being urged to open our minds, utilize our mental facilities, and to allow ourselves to expand kind of consciously.
Excellent. And Rachel, what's been coming through for you?
It's really just being centered and grounded and being able to experience everything that we have, the good, the bad, and being able to accept certain things that we feel and not judge it, not criticize it, but being able to have a place of center within us that we can go back to go within ourselves, and whether that's through meditation or prayer but it's just so important that we are grounded on this earth, that we feel grounded, and that we're able to have that place within ourselves to turn to, even though it seems chaotic and things seem a little crazy right now, and to be able to tune into your higher self. And you do that through meditation or getting to the states, and you'll always be guided to where you need to go or what you need to do. If you can just get past the fear, or at least work with it, not want to run away from it, but work with it. And I think that's what I've been getting.
Ladies, you are a joy. I really dig both of your energies. You send energy into my soul. It's having a little lower energy today, and I was just so pleased that you guys were all lit up, how you naturally probably are. And just to let you all know, I'm talking to Lydia and Rachel here. You have a group, a dimension that's not demanding, but insisting I say hello to you when we have the fairy realm, and they're claiming you both big time, saying you spent a lot of time there, and they're teasing with me and saying, aren't they so beautiful? Aren't they even like fairy-like, and they talk a certain way, and it's like fairy-like, and I'm like, it's true, they are fairy-like. So you have all kinds of support from the fairy realm. You probably knew that on some level, but they're just showing that you've incarnated there hundreds of times or lots of times to experience that dimension. So they're assisting you both. So you take as much or as little from that as you want.
Well, it's funny because our song, Lydia and I have a song that's like, what is it? Oh, it's magic. What is it? Magic?
I think she is being very fairy-like.
So thank you. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Appreciate you, ladies. You're, again, a great joy and a wonderful light in the world. And we want you to come back on season 4 next year. So we will be contacting you, see where you're at next year. We want to hear all about it, see what you got yourself into, see what we do with that North Node in Gemini, right? See what we can get out there into the world. And and teach and say. So we appreciate you for being here on the show and then, of course, being here on the planet. And this is the Alchemy Sisters, and we're here every Monday. We often bring on a healer, teacher, seeker type. We had a double the fun treat today with our two guests. Often we'll only have one, so it was, again, wonderful energy and loved having you both on. And we do interview style sessions, and sometimes we take callers and sometimes we don't, but go to any major podcast app and search Heart Over Ego Radio, and you are going to be in for a treat. We have about 7 shows right now with 3 to launch, 9 shows, all free for your listening pleasure, different hosts bringing through incredible understandings, incredible knowledges. It's for you. This is why we're doing it. And just go ahead and go to any major podcast app, search Heart Over Ego Radio, tell your friends. On Sundays, we have a free call-in show. So if you're needing support emotionally, psychically, emotionally, physically, anything, call in. Me and my Canadian psychic friend, we do the readings on Sunday. So that's, what do? We do noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on the Sunday show. Same network, same number, same place. Go ahead and get yourself some healing if you need it. And Mandee, anything else?
I want to let our listeners know that we are going to be hosting our first in-person retreat this year over Halloween weekend. It's going to be a full moon, as I'm sure our astrology friends know. And it's going to be an absolutely wonderful celebration. We're going to have ceremony and workshops and wonderful food and yoga, lots of empowerment, a cacao ceremony. We are going to be doing a psychic workshop and all kinds of wonderful things. So if you're interested in going to that, it's going to be in North Georgia, just outside of Chattanooga. The tickets are going to be going on sale on July 1st. And if you're interested and want to be placed on a pre-registration list, that way we give you first choice of buying tickets, just email us at heartoverego@gmail.com or send us a message on the Alchemy Sisters, and we're getting excited. Is there anything you want to add about that, Jennie?
You said all the PG-13 stuff. We're having a full-on pagan party, full moon, bonfire, complete with George Carlin-style comedian coming up from Atlanta, mine and Mandy's personal friend. He is a hoot. And we're even going to have gallery-style readings. One of our friends may get married under the full moon, coming down from Michigan, and she is one of the best mediums I know. She calls herself the Mid-Mitten Medium, and she's going to be doing gallery-style readings. So we have the weekend chock full. We have the best cook coming up from the Atlanta area. I think she's from Libya. She is Aya Brandy, and she is called the Cooking Diva, and she is going to rock everyone's taste buds. We got the best of the best, and we got great music coming. I don't think it's going to be live, but we have everything lining up for exquisite music. And the venue has a professional recording studio. So Mandee and I are going to be recording with our friend Lydia, who lives in Chattanooga. This was what brought the whole party on to begin with. We do a show on Friday called the Witching Hour, and it's the Green Witch Village and the Alchemy Sisters, and we do a trilogy of guided meditations. I take us on parallel existences. Lydia, the yoga teacher, takes everyone back inside the body. Then Mandee takes us on a exploratory, very light and fairy experience. It's a wonderful trilogy, and I said, Spirit's telling me to record this like we're a band, put it on professional recording and dish it out. So that's what we did. We said, let's record. And Leah said, I got friends who have all the equipment and they play around with it. So we were going that way. And then she says, let's have a party. Or Mandee said, let's have a retreat. So it's going to be a fun experience. Anyone near the area, go ahead and check it out. It's called the Witchin' Weekend. You can email us at heartoverego@gmail.com. If you're not in the area, don't fret. Don't fret at all. We have some going up in Michigan already. People are finding out what we're doing, and they're setting us up in Vermont. And my good friend has a liquor license in the state of California, and throwing festivals experience. So she's going to come check us out in Georgia. We're going to put a plan together. In about a year and a half, we'll be tooling up like a proper circus, moving carnival up California, potentially doing workshops in festivals. So all of that is to come. Girls, you are more than welcome. And if we're in your area, we'd love for you to teach a workshop at one of our moving carnival event type things. And again, we are the Alchemy Sisters. And until next time, we appreciate you.
Thank you for holding the space.
Yes, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a wonderful night. Thanks to our listeners for tuning in. Take care.